Hello, this is the Insurance Perspectives podcast presented by HawkSoft. And on today's show, we have Bob Graves from Graves Insurance Group and Ryan Mathisen from GloveBox. The goal of the conversations we have is to help you, the independent agent, learn more about technology partners in the space. We understand that there are many options in the industry, and we want to offer insightful interviews with the company and mutual customers to help you make your decisions. Ryan and Bob discuss how GloveBox is bringing value to Bob's agency and fellow independent agencies. We hope you enjoy the discussion and be sure to follow the podcast on Apple, Spotify, and wherever you listen to podcasts. Our focus this week in part one is GloveBox, and Ryan Mathisen is here in our hot seat to answer our partner questions. So Ryan is co-founder of GloveBox, a company he started with his little brother, Andy. I was specifically requested to point out
absolutely
that difference.
Correct. Yep.
Ryan is actually a second generation insurance professional, which should make his answers to our fourth partner question rather spicy. Prior to striking out on his own in InsurTech with his little brother, Ryan was vice president of Colorado Insurance, a family-owned independent insurance agency. Ryan's dad started in 1992, and I don't want to make anyone feel old, but I was 1 in 1992, and Ryan was just 8. So
there we
go. We'll think about that. And if you ever need to locate the team of GloveBox at a conference, chances are you can, in the past, you would just seek out the astronaut, which made it a little easier. But I've learned that they really enjoy some like low-key Silicon Valley-esque cosplay / Halloween shenanigans. Last time I saw them, I think the team was dressed as Steve Jobs. So for me, it's always a pleasure when I get a chance to speak with Ryan. And our listeners always love when I stop talking. So let's jump into the partner questions. We start with a pretty easy one for you, Ryan. Why does your company exist?
That's a great question, Kenny. And I have to say, man, the HawkSoft conferences are like our top 3 favorite every year. It's a really good dynamic with the HawkSoft agencies. They're just a little bit different. They're a little bit wacky to a degree. It makes it a lot more fun because it meets our personality. Our guy Adam shines at those conferences, so
yeah, absolutely.
He's kind of the show pony that dresses as Steve Jobs. But no, look, we created our product out of necessity. We had a pretty large agency out of Denver, Colorado that we built. I started to see some early signs of just trouble within client interaction when it comes to the independent channel. And I think agency owners have a really hard time bringing themselves out of their business and putting them in their consumer shoes. It's like your consumers don't necessarily care about your agency as much as you do. They don't care about their insurance on a daily basis as much as you do. And so it's really interesting when you take yourself outside of that agency role and say, how do my customers feel about insurance? Like, how do they shop for it? How do they service it? How do they know I exist? Right. And so we started seeing early signs of confusion in our agency from our customers, which was creating massive amounts of service influx to our agency. We had 35 CSRs at our agency. We were getting 13 to 14,000 service requests a month. People were waiting on hold for 20, 30 minutes to get, simple questions asked. They were getting bounced between the carrier and us, and frustration, man. It was just frustration. And I realized that there has to be a way to better drive customers to get what they need when they need it faster. And I really wasn't satisfied with the current landscape of technologies. No knock against, what was out there. It's a very complicated thing to solve. It's one of those things that I just couldn't let go. I was like, I started diagramming and creating pitch decks, and I was like, this is an interesting thing. Like, I feel like we have something here. It seems to make so much sense. And that's really where it came from. And my first meeting was with Travelers, and I'll never forget it. I spent the entire weekend building this sweet pitch deck for Travelers, and they no-showed me. Literally no-showed the meeting, and I was devastated. I was like, man, I have such a good idea. I can't believe they would no-show me. And that's when I realized, same thing I'm talking about with insurance agents. They don't care as much as I do about the product. So that was kind of a humbling experience for me. But that's where it came from, just literally out of necessity.
Wow. I'm still sitting here like 35 CSRs. I think when I joined HawkSoft, we probably had 20 support folks.
Yeah,
So an agency of that scale, that is really impressive, and I can see why it would drive that. So, and I assume that Colorado Insurance was your first customer then, your first test bed for GloveBox.
absolutely. Yeah, they have
Nice.
almost 13,000 users on the platform right now. It's pretty sweet.
Wow.
Yeah,
That's awesome.
we've cut their CSR staff in half. Them combined with virtual assistants, we've been able to
Yeah.
cut it in half. So
Wow.
yeah.
So then moving on to our second partner question, if you had to pick one aspect of GloveBox that draws in and keeps customers, what would that be and why?
It's kind of a two-sided question. When we came into this, we were all about service,
Mm-hmm.
self-service, getting customers what they need when they need it. We're very big on carrier connectivity. We're going all in on that right now. We've got some very interesting integration partners on the partnerships on the carrier side that we're working on that will roll out here pretty soon. So in the beginning, it was service. It's like let's create this really dynamic service environment for clients to be able to come in, engage with their carrier, engage with their agent. Um, Over the last, I would say, 6 to 8 months, we've seen a very interesting dynamic on the front end when it comes to current client referrals and driving quotes.
Mm,
We've driven over 10,000 current client referrals to our customers over the past 12 months,
wow.
which that is more than a lot of lead aggregate companies. And ours are current client referrals, the best kind.
Yeah.
So that's been an interesting surprise because we really haven't put a lot of work into driving those referrals in the product, and we're
Mm-hmm.
just finding that users are doing it. And so that's something that we're interested in enhancing. How can we get more client referrals? How can we incubate quotes a little bit more thoroughly within the platform? So that's been a surprise, is the quoting piece and the referrals.
Fascinating.
Yeah.
Bob, are you seeing those referrals come through on your agency?
So we're still a relatively new user to
Mm-hmm.
GloveBox, and we are still engaging our existing clients into utilizing the app. Um,
Gotcha.
but um, actually, in as a compliment to GloveBox, one of the things that they've done as a new client is they've really engaged us in trying to work with our clients to get them marketed to. They've been
Mm-hmm.
doing some of that for us, and giving us really specific, great ideas about how to get our clients engaged in this process. So we expect that flow to start happening, but probably
Nice.
not until we've been with them for about 12 months or so. That's kind of our
Sure.
expectation.
We're going to take a slight detour from those fun questions and get into more one of the hard hitting ones. For HawkSoft agencies, data ownership is a real key piece of what brings them into us. And from HawkSoft's perspective, what we mean by data ownership is that we believe that an agency is the owner of the data that they produce and cultivate within our system. We don't place any ransom on it if they try to take it elsewhere. We don't put any limitations on how they can use it. So this is a very important topic to our customers. Ryan, I'd love to ask you, how does GloveBox approach data ownership with regards to your customers?
Yeah, I mean, we take the same stance that you do. And this is what I love about being an independent agent versus a captive, because agents own their own data and they can take it where they want, right? And I love this conversation. There's always argument of like, hey, does the carrier own the data? Does the agency own the data? Well, an independent agent owns that data. I could move my client from Travelers to Nationwide tomorrow if I want, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's my prerogative with my customers. So we've built our platform the same way that HawkSoft leverages data, right? Agencies are using GloveBox to deliver an experience to their customers. That's not our data. We're not using it outside of our system to go do other things. The data stays within our experience so that we can create this ecosystem for the customer. The agents can pull and push data as they want, which is beautiful. They have full control on how they leverage our platform. That's our stance on data. The agency gets to leverage it within our system, just like with HawkSoft. So,
Mm-hmm. Excellent. And Bob, how are you experiencing, GloveBox taking some stewardship in your data when you integrate with them?
Well, so let me let me kind of change my answer to actually fit more of a little bit different narrative. I actually came to
Sure.
HawkSoft partially because, and it was actually a big part of it was because of data ownership, and the AMS that I was using prior was not. They were very fuzzy on that particular aspect, and I really have a problem with that because, like Ryan said, I feel that the independent agent actually owns the data because, like he said, the perfect example is, well, I can take you from Travelers and move you to Nationwide, or from Nationwide to move you to Travelers. Yeah, whatever, because it's a better fit for my client. And so really the independent agent owns the data and not the AMS, not any partner that you would have. It's really the independent agent. And we take that to heart. I mean, that's a pretty serious responsibility for us. And so I think I've answered your question, but
Yeah.
that's a very valuable component. And any partner that we choose, whether it's GloveBox or someone else that we're utilizing, within our agreement, we have to make sure that we see that they do not own and cannot utilize this data.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm glad you brought up the agreement. I do a lot of consumer advocacy, and HawkSoft, we do our best to highlight and promote perspectives on data ownership. There's a lot of valid ways to approach this topic. I'm a big fan of informed consent. So as long as a business understands what they're signing up for, I think it's okay as long as those things are clear. I find GloveBox's terms for their customers extremely clear to read. I think we'd be remiss if I didn't ask Ryan, how this topic has been coming up a bit around GloveBox, and I want to give you an opportunity to address that. You and I have spoken about it. I've spoken with your team about it a lot. And I, as a representative of HawkSoft, feel very confident in GloveBox and in your stewardship of data. I just want to give you an opportunity if you want to talk more on that.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. I mean, we've had a lot of attention lately, which is a good thing. I feel we must be doing something right within the space, right? Because agents are using our platform, interested in our platform, and they want to make sure that their data is going to be secure within our platform, right? So we have two different terms of service, right? One relationship is with a user of the system, and one is with our agents within our system, because GloveBox is a free app. Anybody can go download it. You don't have to be associated to an agency to download our app. And so the terms of service with the user really addresses what the client is putting into the app, right? Their own data, which could be a connection to a carrier that's written maybe outside of an agency, right? Maybe they've got I won't mention any carriers by name, but they have an outside carrier. They've got a captive, right? So they're able to actually pull that data into our system with our proprietary connections to carriers, which is beautiful. That's the client's data, right? The agency doesn't have any access to that data. They didn't write that policy. It's not theirs, right? The client can also put in their own data. So they can choose to fill in their own data within the system, right? So that's that relationship that comes with our user terms of service. Now, within that experience, we have a really unique product where we can actually share that data with an agent. So even though that agent didn't write that policy, our platform allows us to share that data to say, hey, Bob, your client has a policy written outside of the portfolio that you offer. You may want to go get that business, right? Which is a huge advantage to the way our system is built. So that's the user side. Now, on the agent side, we're talking about data that is put into the system by a multitude of different ways. We can bring it in from HawkSoft. We can bring it in from a CRM. They can manually create it within GloveBox HQ, which is beautiful. Any data that the agency is putting into our system is their data. They can push and pull it as they want. They can say, hey, this set of clients I'm going to put in, this set of clients I'm not. I can pull them back if I want. They have complete control over that data. And those are the dynamics of how our system is set up. And it's because of really the sandbox experience that we've created, which we feel like is a really unique value that nobody else can offer. So I think it's just a little bit cutting edge. And that's why there was some questions about it. At the end of the day, we're going to keep pushing the boundaries to deliver an amazing experience for our agencies first. And that's what we do. So
absolutely. And in my experience, you all have always been very open and willing to have the tough discussion about it, because it does there are some attorneys who sell insurance, but generally speaking, we're not.
Well,
And yeah,
well, I would say this: we've got over 30 carrier partners. One of our biggest partners is Nationwide. Their security and privacy reviews are
yeah,
insane.
yeah,
Years. And I literally just got another assessment the other day. We are always getting checked and balanced on the way we operate within our systems. We have a CISO that we've been working with for almost 2 years now. He used to run security at AIG. He used to work at NASA. He actually ran security for Zendesk. The way he structured our system to make sure that data is not only leveraged correctly, but is secure within our system is amazing. And I would say when you're looking at partners, make sure that they're investing the money to be able to protect that data because it is not cheap. And if you're
no,
spending $50 on a product, I wouldn't be too confident that the data is secure. But again, just vet who you're working with and make sure that they're investing the money to make sure that that data is not only secure, but being used properly. So
absolutely.
yeah.
I appreciate you being willing to dive into that tough subject. Now we have probably a potentially harder question that we'll go into, especially with having an agent on the line. I'd like to foster this dialogue between partners and our agents. Bob, feel free to counteract whatever answer Ryan gives us or support it however you feel is appropriate.
All right.
Virtually kick him under the table. But Ryan, in your perspective and potentially GloveBox perspective, what is the hardest part of working with insurance agencies?
I feel like I can be transparent about it because I am one and I've been in the seat. Agents, it's kind of what I mentioned earlier. Agents have a very hard time getting out of their own business.
Sure.
Because you're so engaged in what you're doing. And again, you care so much about your customers' insurance portfolio that it's hard to get out of your headspace and say, how do they feel? What do they want? It's so funny when agents, and it's the line that we kind of joke about here at GloveBox, but when agents say, my clients have to call me because they want to talk to me and I want to do this, that, and the other when they call me. And it's a very one-sided view of the customer, right? Because at the end of the day, we have two jobs as insurance agents: to protect the customer and to make commission for our families, right? We have two jobs. It doesn't matter how that happens. That's the customer's journey, right? They're going to dictate how that happens. And so that's the most frustrating thing of working with agents. They know they want to evolve. They know they need to evolve because the fact of the matter is people on their phones is not going away. Logging into a client portal from your website is not going away. And so really allowing the customer to dictate their own journey and facilitating that process, man, that's the most frustrating part. And we've made a lot of strides over the past 6 to 12 months. I would say when we first came out, it was like pulling teeth.
Yeah.
I don't know if people use a mobile app. I don't know if they would use a client portal. I don't know about that. And meanwhile, they're buried in their phones. It's like very ironic. So I would say that's probably the most frustrating piece is just getting agents out of their own way. So,
Bob, do you get in your own way?
Yeah, so I got to tell you, I think Ryan hit the nail on the head. I can be my own worst my own worst enemy in this business, and get in my own way often. And I, from a customer's perspective, the more efficient a business is, that from my perspective as a customer, the more efficient a business is, and the easier it is for me to get things done, the more I'm going to want to continue doing business with them. And so GloveBox gives my clients that tool to be able to communicate with us at 9:00 at night, so that when we're on board at 8:30 or 9 a.m., we're able to start addressing things immediately, and we have all the data we need. We have everything we need. There's no questions left out. So no, I think Ryan was spot on.
How do you help agencies see the light? What's your go-to motivation to say like that you need, like, how do you pull them out of themselves and get them motivated to embrace a new paradigm?
It's funny. We were at Indie Tech 2 weeks ago. We're the headline sponsor at Indie Tech, which was fun. And I saw Paul out there, which is always good to see Paul. So an agent came up and it was really funny. Actually, we had two agents come up at different times, both probably the same age. I would probably guess maybe early 60s, right?
Mm-hmm.
The first one came up and he said, no, I totally get what you guys are doing. You're obviously the leader in the space. I understand it. I get why people would use it. I just don't think my clients, would use their phones for something like this. And I said, fair enough. And I asked him, I was like, hey, let me ask you this. Where do you bank? Like, who do you bank with? And he said, oh, I have two different banks. And I was like, cool. Pull up your phone real quick and show me what they are. He goes, oh, yeah, they're right here. Look, there's the mobile apps right there. I have both of them. And I was like, oh, interesting. So what you're telling me is you don't like to go physically inside of your bank or call them. You do everything on the mobile apps. And he was like, yeah, of course. And I was like, so what's different about what we're talking about here? And he was like, oh, fair enough. You got me. Like, it makes sense, right? So then the second agent comes up, who's actually a friend of ours, really well known in the business. And he was at our booth for about 45 minutes telling me how mobile apps are a must-have. They're everything in his business. There is no way in hell that he wouldn't have one. And that's how he wants his clients to interact. And so it was very interesting to see the dynamics between two very similar aged professionals in our space that are two agency owners, two vastly different opinions on the digital space. One had to have it, wouldn't live without it. And then the other one, had to see the light a little bit to answer your question. So it was really interesting. I mean, there's a huge divide. Yeah,
that makes total sense. And we will definitely pry more on that with Bob in part 2. So I don't want to steal any thunder from that conversation. In a past life, I worked in computer assisted language education, and there was always this emerging concept for the youths, that they were digital natives. They grew up on iPads, they grew up on the internet. And I can tell you from firsthand experience, there's no such thing as a digital native. I have countless times been humbled by Paul Hawkins' far greater grasp on technology than myself, including a time where I was struggling to turn on speakerphone, and he looks at my phone and he taps a button, and we were good to go. So I definitely think that we all contain that capacity for a good understanding of technology. I think we just have to put in the effort to grasp it.
Yeah.
Okay. Fun question now. Now it's nice. the chance to save some of those agencies that are just like, I would never not understand the quality of something. So Ryan, in your perspective, what is the best part of working with insurance agencies?
Watching them win. I'm obsessed with watching agents win. I love it so much. Like, for instance, Bob's son, Wilson, I would love to meet with Wilson and show him how to market and get up and running in 90 days. Cause I've done it so much. I've trained so many agents on how to get up and running with their marketing, and it's foolproof. I love watching agents win. It's the best part. That's why I did this. We didn't have to. People thought we were crazy. I mean, we had $100 million book. we were on Easy Street. We didn't have to do anything, but we were crazy enough to sell the agency to come build this product for agents because we just want to see them win. And we knew that this was such an integral piece of their business. It's what drives us every day. I mean, we have 15 engineers in house that are literally just building products for our agents to make them more effective, to make their customers feel more supported, to empower their customers to buy more insurance, to refer their friends and family, right? It's what drives us, man. I love it. I love watching agents make money and win because I know how great the business is. So,
and apologies to listeners to keep tantalizing you with part 2. We'll definitely be talking more about Bob's kids in part 2. But I just for those tuning in, before we hit record, the second Bob and Ryan got on, they started chatting about one of Bob's sons and his interest. He's getting into the business, and Ryan had helped him out get in there, and Ryan was just offering more and more help. And it's part of what I love about the insurance industry as well. We're so relationship driven. We can get a little catty sometimes, but generally speaking, we all have each other's backs. And I completely hear what you're saying, and I can definitely tell as an authentic drive within you and within GloveBox, as I've seen countless times how you guys go to bat for your agencies. Yeah. What to you, um, what is it for an agency to win? How are you defining that? How are you seeing that? How are you seeing them do that?
Yeah, I mean, first and foremost, it's revenue. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, look, we're not a charity business. Like, we love helping our customers. We love protecting them. We love making an impact, right? Of
Mm-hmm.
course, when rubber meets the road and a claim happens, like that's where you're cashing your check, right? But at the end of the
Yeah.
day, it's revenue. It's
Mm-hmm.
it's, it's revenue growth. It's helping agents find their way faster, because you can
Mm-hmm.
get very lost in this business if you don't have the right mentors to show you the way. And I've seen it countless times. I actually give I've spoken in front, like at many conferences in front of many agencies with our marketing system that we teach agents. And
Mm-hmm.
the fact of the matter is, most agents that start in this business don't make it. They
Yeah.
quit because they don't make enough money. It sucks for the first year or two. It sucks. And you got to be prepared for that. And you have to have the mentors and the plan and the path to be able to get through those times. But
Mm-hmm.
funny, at our agency, we always joked, you can see it when a producer just figures it out, like literally to the day. Their
Mm-hmm.
face just changes, and you're like, oh, you figured it out. Congratulations. You're good. And it's really funny. And if
Mm-hmm.
you can just get producers over that hump of the struggle to
Mm-hmm.
where they're like, oh, cool. I'm generating my own leads now. This is awesome. I got 10 new
Yeah.
leads this month, and I closed 8 of them, and I'm actually making some money, and I can replicate this process. And I think, to me, that's winning, is getting to success faster so you do not quit.
Gotcha.
Right?
Yeah.
That's what I define as winning to
Yeah.
me.
I love that. I think that more often than not, we have a bit of a brain drain, for lack of a better word, in the insurance space. We see it in InsurTech, and I definitely see it on the agency side. Um, it's a known struggle to get younger folks into the industry, and so I appreciate that perspective and that drive to say, like, okay, how do we capture them before they
Yeah.
burn out, or they think like, oh, I can do better in finance. Like, no, wait,
Yeah.
come back.
Our business is survival of the fittest.
Yeah.
But the fittest make all the money.
Yeah.
The reality of it. I've seen it. So yeah, it's the best business in the world, in my opinion.
Yeah. I think I would hope a lot of our listeners agree. I certainly do.
Yeah.
Now, if we get into some nuts and bolts a little, folks have been listening. They have a good understanding of who GloveBox is now. I'd love to give a little bit of a bridge into our part 2 conversation and ask Ryan and Bob, how does GloveBox work with HawkSoft?
Yeah. I can start, Bob.
Go ahead, Ryan. Yeah.
Yeah. So
if we're talking nuts and bolts, then Ryan's got the nuts and bolts. I can just tell you from the agency side, which is not nuts and bolts. It's flipping
Gotcha.
switches. Yeah. So if you think of HawkSoft is kind of an internal system for the agency to operate effectively, right? Efficiently,
Mm-hmm.
make sure that their teams can organize data and documents and manage accounts effectively, right? We're the front end piece for the customer. So we're the front door of the store.
Mm-hmm.
To allow customers to, again, engage with the agency how they choose. We have a really exciting piece of our platform coming out here in the next 3 weeks. It's called Client Hub. It's taking a page out of the mobile app, and we're actually implanting a complete client experience on our agency's websites, which is going to power the websites.
Wow.
It's going to be the brains of the website. It's amazing, and I can't wait to show it to our agents. It's phenomenal.
That's fantastic. I
Really,
think I've seen some previews. People should be excited.
It makes it really omni-channel. Let the clients engage how they want. Again, if they want a mobile app, great. If they want the mobile app and the client experience on the desktop, perfect. Like, we want them to be able to engage with your agency how and when they want. So with our GloveBox, or with our HawkSoft connection to GloveBox, we're able to grab all of the data out of your AMS system. We're able to populate it in our experience. The goal with that is to automate client accounts being created. So bringing the data in, because let's be honest, clients never know who they have for their carriers. They have no clue what insurance they have, because again, they don't care as much as you do. So we want to automate that process. So we pull that data in, we refresh it 3 to 4 times a week, and it's automated. That's our current connection. And of course, we're going to be looking to expand that out as we scale our partnership. But again, make sure that data can flow seamlessly into our system so that clients can start engaging with their portfolio is the goal. So
amazing. Yeah, and GloveBox is an API partner with HawkSoft. So a HawkSoft agency enables data sharing within our marketplace, and then you can get access to that policy and client data to drive your front end.
It's literally the easiest thing. It's one of the easiest AMS systems we work with. Maybe the easiest. Someone did it by accident one time. It's that easy. Yeah.
I can tell you that from the agency side, I can see how that would happen. I mean, it's so simple from our end to be able to get GloveBox and HawkSoft connected. It's very, very intuitive. Very intuitive.
Yeah, we sometimes our sales team asks me like, how does this work? And I'm like, you just turn it on. Just flip the switch.
Yeah, really that simple.
Yeah. This is super exciting. Thank you to Ryan, and thank you to Bob. We're going to hear much more from Bob and probably a bit more from Ryan in part 2 of our series on GloveBox. Thank you all for listening to today's podcast. For the best way to contact today's guests, click the episode description or the episode notes if you're an Apple Podcasts. We appreciate you listening and hope you join us next time on the Insurance Perspectives podcast. We'll be back next Tuesday with part 2 of our series on GloveBox and a full interview with Bob Graves of Graves Insurance Group. Thank you for watching today's episode. Click the video's description below to learn more about our guests and to view the latest podcast episode as well as other content from HawkSoft. We appreciate you watching and hope you join us next time on the Insurance Perspectives podcast.